Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, everyone. Have you ever felt like you're standing in your own way? Like there's a version of you that's bold, capable, and unstoppable, but somehow you just can't seem to step into that power? You are not alone. We all wrestle with self-doubt, perfectionism, and the fear of failure. But today, I want to talk about how we can stop holding ourselves back and finally step forward. We often think of vulnerability as a weakness, as something to be avoided, hidden, or covered up. But what if I told you that vulnerability is actually one of the most powerful tools you have? What if I told you that the very thing you're avoiding, being seen, being real, being open, is the key to unlocking your confidence, your success, and your true potential? Let's talk about what vulnerability really means. Vulnerability is not about oversharing or exposing every detail of your life. It's not about weakness or helplessness. Vulnerability is about having the courage to show up even when you don't have all the answers. It's about taking risks when there are no guarantees. It's about allowing yourself to be seen, even when the fear of judgment feels overwhelming. Think about a moment when you hesitated to do something because you were afraid of what others might think. Maybe you wanted to apply for a new job but told yourself you weren't qualified. Maybe you wanted to start a business but worried about failing. Maybe you wanted to tell someone how much they meant to you but feared rejection. That hesitation, that's the fear of vulnerability. But here's the truth. Everything meaningful in life requires vulnerability. Love, connection, creativity, leadership, innovation, all of these things demand that we step outside our comfort zones. You cannot truly connect with others unless you allow yourself to be seen. You cannot create something great without risking criticism. You cannot lead without the possibility of making mistakes. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who feel fear and do it anyway. They understand that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but a display of immense strength. They understand that growth does not happen inside the walls of comfort and certainty. Think about a moment in your life when you were truly proud of yourself. Was it a time when everything was easy and predictable? Or was it a time when you pushed through uncertainty, when you did something even though it scared you? The moments we are most proud of are often the ones where we were vulnerable. When we stepped up despite the fear, despite the discomfort, despite the risk. Now let's be honest, vulnerability is not easy. It is uncomfortable, it requires courage. It means accepting that not everyone will understand you, not everyone will support you, and not everything will go your way. But the alternative, hiding, playing small, staying silent, robs you of the life you were meant to live. So how do we embrace vulnerability in our everyday lives? Acknowledge the fear, but don't let it control you. It's okay to feel nervous. It's okay to feel uncertain. But don't let those feelings dictate your choices. Instead, recognize them and choose to act anyway. Take small risks. You don't have to make a massive leap all at once. Start small. Speak up in a meeting. Share an idea you've been sitting on. Reach out to someone and express appreciation. Each time you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you build the muscle for courage. Surround yourself with people who encourage authenticity. Not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. Find the people who celebrate your growth, who lift you up, and who remind you that being yourself is more than enough. Reframe failure. Failure is not proof that you're not good enough. It's proof that you're trying. Every mistake is a lesson. Every setback is an opportunity to grow. The only true failure is never trying at all. Vulnerability is the foundation of courage, creativity, and connection. When you stop running from it and start embracing it, you unlock doors you never even knew existed. So the next time fear whispers that you should stay quiet, play small, or hold back, challenge it, step forward, be seen, take the risk. Because on the other side of vulnerability is everything you've ever wanted. The way we talk to ourselves shapes everything we do. Our inner narrative, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we deserve, determines the choices we make, the risk we take, and ultimately the life we create. Think about it. Have you ever caught yourself saying things like, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, I'm not smart enough, or I'll never be successful? These thoughts don't just pass through your mind harmlessly. They create a mental blueprint for how you see yourself, and over time they become your reality. The good news, just like any story, your inner narrative can be rewritten. The power of your inner voice. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. Let's say they're both preparing for a big presentation. One of them is thinking, I always screw up under pressure, I'm not a good speaker, people will judge me. The other is thinking, this is a great opportunity to share my ideas, I've prepared and I'm capable. Even if I make mistakes, I can recover. Who do you think will perform better? Who will walk into that room with more confidence? The difference isn't in their skills or intelligence, it's in their mindset. The first person has already decided they will fail. The second person has chosen a narrative that supports their growth. Now think about your own life. What stories are you telling yourself? Are they lifting you up or tearing you down? Where do these narratives come from? Many of our limiting beliefs come from past experiences, childhood messages, or societal conditioning. Maybe a teacher once told you that you weren't creative, so you stopped pursuing art. Maybe you failed a test in school and started believing you weren't smart. Maybe someone criticized your work, and now you doubt yourself every time you start something new. But here's the truth. Just because something happened in the past doesn't mean it has to define your future. You are not bound by old narratives. You have the power to rewrite them. How to rewrite your inner narrative, identify the story you're telling yourself, pay attention to your thoughts, especially in moments of challenge or self-doubt. What do you tell yourself when you make a mistake, when you try something new, when you face criticism? Write these thoughts down. Seeing them on paper makes them easier to challenge. Question the truth of that story. Ask yourself, is this really true? Do I have evidence to support this belief, or is it just something I've repeated so often that I've accepted it as fact? Most of the time, our limiting beliefs are not based on reality, but on past fears and insecurities. Reframe the narrative. Once you've identified a negative belief, replace it with a new, empowering one. Instead of saying, I'm terrible at public speaking, try, I'm improving my speaking skills and every experience makes me better. Instead of I always fail, say every setback teaches me something valuable. Act as if your new narrative is already true. Your brain believes what you consistently tell it. So even if you don't fully believe your new story yet, act as if you do. If your new narrative is, I am confident and capable, start carrying yourself that way. Speak with certainty. Take bold actions. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. Surround yourself with positive reinforcement. The people and environments around you also shape your inner narrative. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, it's harder to maintain a positive self-image. Seek out people who uplift you, consume content that inspires you, and put yourself in situations that reinforce your new mindset. Be patient and persistent. Changing your inner narrative doesn't happen overnight. You're rewriting years, sometimes decades, of conditioning. There will be days when the old voice creeps back in, and that's okay. What matters is that you recognize it and choose not to listen. The more you practice, the stronger your new narrative will become. Your story is yours to write. Every day you have a choice. You can keep telling yourself the same old story, or you can start writing a new one that empowers you, supports you, and helps you grow. And you are not your past mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the negative labels you've given yourself. You are capable. You are resilient. You are enough. The only question is, what story are you going to tell yourself from now on? How many times have you held yourself back because you felt you weren't ready? How many dreams, opportunities, and experiences have passed you by because you were waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect skills, the perfect confidence? The truth is, if you wait until you feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Showing up fully, unapologetically, and even imperfectly is one of the most powerful things you can do, yet it's also one of the hardest. Why? Because showing up means stepping into discomfort. It means risking failure, judgment, and criticism. It means facing the unknown. But here's the reality. The people who succeed, the people who make an impact, the people who live fully, they don't wait until they're fearless or perfect. They show up despite the fear. They take action before they feel ready, and they trust that progress comes from doing, not from waiting. What does it mean to show up? To show up means to step forward even when doubt creeps in. It means to raise your hand, speak up, take the risk, and put yourself in the arena. It means that instead of sitting on the sidelines of your own life, you choose to participate fully, knowing that mistakes will happen, that not everyone will approve, but that the alternative, hiding, playing small, staying stuck, is far worse. Showing up can take many forms. Saying yes to an opportunity that scares you, sharing your ideas even when your voice shakes, pushing past fear and trying something new, showing your authentic self rather than the version you think people expect, taking responsibility for your life rather than blaming circumstances. The biggest myth about showing up is that you need to be fearless to do it. You don't. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else is more important than fear. Why we struggle to show up. So if showing up is so powerful, why do so many of us hesitate? One, fear of failure. We're terrified of messing up, of looking foolish, of trying and not succeeding. But failure is not the enemy. Inaction is. Every time you take a risk, you either win or you learn. Either way, you grow. Two, fear of judgment. What will people think? Will they laugh? Will they criticize? The truth is, people will always have opinions. Some will support you, some won't. But living your life based on the fear of what others think is a guaranteed way to stay stuck. Three, perfectionism. We convince ourselves that we need to be 100% ready before we take action. But readiness is a myth. No one has it all figured out. The only way to get better at something is to start. 4. Self-doubt, that inner voice that whispers, who do you think you are? You're not good enough. You don't deserve this. The truth is, everyone experiences self-doubt at some point. The difference is that some people listen to it and others push past it. How to start showing up in your life. 1, take imperfect action. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Perfection is an illusion, and waiting for it only leads to procrastination. Take small steps, even messy ones. Apply for the job, start the project, send the email, speak up in the meeting. Progress comes from action, not from waiting. 2, shift your perspective on fear. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, which is exactly where growth happens. Instead of running from fear, acknowledge it and move forward anyway. 3, embrace discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. If you feel awkward, nervous, or uncertain, it means you're stretching yourself. Get comfortable with discomfort. Learn to sit with it instead of avoiding it. 4, celebrate small wins. Showing up doesn't always mean taking massive leaps. Sometimes it's the small moments of courage that add up over time. Celebrate each step you take outside your comfort zone. Each time you show up, you prove to yourself that you can. $5, stop seeking external validation. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will cheer you on, and that's okay. You don't need everyone's approval to live your life. What matters is how you feel about the choices you make. 6, remind yourself, you belong. Imposter syndrome affects even the most successful people, but you are not an imposter. You are a work in progress, just like everyone else. You belong in the room, you belong in the conversation, you belong wherever you choose to be. The power of showing up. When you start showing up in your life, something incredible happens. You realize that fear doesn't control you, that failure isn't the end, that you are capable of far more than you thought. The more you show up, the easier it gets. The more you take action, the more confident you become, and before you know it, you've built momentum, created opportunities, and stepped into the version of yourself that once felt out of reach. So the next time you hesitate, remember this: showing up is a choice, and it's a choice that changes everything. Will you choose to show up? Life will test you. At some point, you will face setbacks, failures, and disappointments. And you will encounter rejection, heartbreak, and unexpected challenges. You will fall. And in those moments, one thing will determine your ability to rise again: resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back after failure, to keep going despite adversity, and to grow stronger from setbacks rather than being broken by them. It is not about avoiding hardship, but about developing the strength to withstand it. Some people seem naturally resilient while others struggle to recover from setbacks. But here's the good news. Resilience is not something you either have or don't have. It is a skill that can be cultivated, strengthened, and developed. And when you build resilience, you become unstoppable. Why resilience matters. Resilience is the foundation of success, happiness, and personal growth. Without it, even small obstacles can feel insurmountable. With it, you can take on challenges, handle criticism, and turn failures into learning experiences. Resilient people are not immune to struggle. They feel disappointment, frustration, and pain just like everyone else. The difference is that they don't let those emotions define them. They acknowledge their struggles, learn from them, and keep moving forward. Think about the most successful people in any field: athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, or leaders. Every single one of them has faced failure. What separates them from those who quit is resilience. They refused to let setbacks stop them. They adapted, they persisted, and they kept showing up. Now imagine how your life could change if you stopped letting failure define you. If, instead of giving up after a setback, you saw it as part of the journey. If you chose to rise every single time you fell. That is the power of resilience. Why we struggle with resilience. Building resilience isn't always easy. Many of us struggle to bounce back because of deeply ingrained fears and limiting beliefs. Here are some common reasons people give up too soon. 1, fear of failure. Many people avoid challenges because they are terrified of failing. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is a stepping stone to success. Every failure teaches you something. Every setback prepares you for what's next. Detailed negative self-talk. The way you talk to yourself in tough moments matters. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not strong enough, I always fail," or "I'll never recover from this," you reinforce a mindset of helplessness. Resilient people reframe their inner dialogue. "This is hard, but I can get through it," or "I've faced challenges before and I survived." Expecting life to be easy Many people struggle with resilience because they believe that life should be smooth, fair, or predictable. But life doesn't work that way. Everyone faces challenges. The key is to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, how can I grow from this? 4, letting setbacks define you. Resilient people separate their failures from their identity. Just because you failed at something doesn't mean you are a failure. A rejection doesn't mean you're unworthy. A mistake doesn't mean you're not good enough. Setbacks are part of the process, not a reflection of your worth. How to cultivate resilience. So how do you become more resilient? How do you train yourself to keep going when life knocks you down? 1, shift your perspective on failure. Instead of seeing failure as something to avoid, see it as a teacher. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What went wrong and how can I adjust? The most successful people in the world have failed more times than most people have even tried. 2, to build a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and talents can improve with effort. If you believe that setbacks are temporary and that effort leads to progress, you will be far more likely to keep going. Instead of thinking, I'm not good at this, try, I'm still learning. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, try, I can't do this yet. 3, develop emotional resilience. Resilience isn't just about pushing through tough times, it's also about managing emotions effectively. This means allowing yourself to feel sadness, frustration, or disappointment, but not letting those emotions paralyze you. Journaling, talking to a trusted friend, or practicing mindfulness can help you process emotions in a healthy way. 4, take care of your mind and body. Resilience isn't just mental, it's physical too. If you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or neglecting your well-being, it's harder to handle stress. Exercise, proper nutrition, sleep, and relaxation all contribute to your ability to cope with challenges. 5, strengthen your support system. Resilient people don't do it alone. They have a network of friends, mentors, or family members who encourage them. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who remind you of your strength, and who help you keep going when times get tough. 6, learn to adapt. Flexibility is a key component of resilience. When things don't go as planned, don't waste energy resisting reality. Adapt. Adjust your approach. Be willing to pivot. Resilient people don't get stuck in rigid thinking. They find new ways to move forward. 7, keep showing up. At the end of the day, resilience is about persistence. It's about getting up every time you fall. It's about refusing to quit even when things feel impossible. The simple act of showing up again and again is what builds resilience over time. The power of resilience in your life. Imagine if every time you faced a setback, you didn't give up. Imagine if every time you felt like quitting, you chose to keep going. Imagine if instead of fearing failure, you embraced it as part of your growth. How different would your life be? Resilience is what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who give up. It's what allows you to turn pain into power, struggle into strength, and failure into fuel. So the next time life knocks you down, remember this: you have 2 choices. Stay down or rise again. And every time you choose to rise, you prove to yourself just how strong you really are. Because resilience isn't about never falling, it's about rising. Every single time, the only thing standing between you and the life you want is you. Not your past, not your circumstances, not what other people think. The greatest obstacles are the ones we create within our own minds. The fear, the doubt, the hesitation. But here's the truth. You have the power to change your story. You can embrace vulnerability and step into your authentic self, no longer hiding behind fear or perfectionism. You can rewrite your inner narrative and replace self-doubt with self-belief, shifting from I can't to I am capable. You can dare to show up even when you feel unprepared, even when your voice shakes, because action is what leads to growth. And when challenges arise, as they always do, you can cultivate resilience knowing that setbacks do not define you, but instead shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more determined. The life you dream of, the success, the confidence, the fulfillment is on the other side of the limits you've placed on yourself. It's time to let go of those limits. It's time to stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of yourself to arrive.